Hello everyone. So there's been a lot of online fights. I don't know whether this also translates to offline fight. I definitely hope the beefing doesn't get there. But there's so much anger, animosity, you know, shading of each other, Hausas, Yorubas, Igbos, and going on and on and on. And it just reminds me of something. It reminds me of my growing up. I grew up in a ghetto, right, where there was poverty. I mean, stark poverty. And one of the things I realized living in the ghetto and growing up in the ghetto is that there was so much fight because there was scarcity. There was so much hunger, there was so much sickness, there was lack of money, lack of education, of course. And the more hardship there is, the more fights that broke out easily. You could see an issue that literally wouldn't have meant anything, you understand, if not from the position of anger. You're carrying so much anger in you because of the condition of things, the poverty and all of that, and then you get provoked easily and you begin to fight over things that ordinarily you wouldn't have fought over. I can't even tell you, it could be a fight of maybe some 6 year olds fighting each other, and before you know it becomes a family fight. I can literally tell you the number of times that we had like family fights. It's like father fighting father, mother fighting mother, children fighting children. Crazy. All sorts of things. One of the things I remember vividly, it's one of those days when we went to go and buy kerosene. Even up to this day, whenever I see this long queue of people who are buying kerosene, with their gallons, it reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of the suffering that I had to go through. And so, because sometimes we actually slept at this filling station. Sometimes my dad will say to us, "Oh, we should go home. He'll be the only one to stay. All you're doing is to stay on the queue to be able to get kerosene." Is that crazy? And to see the suffering still going on. I'm talking of something like when my teenage years, up to like 15, 16, 17, 18 kind of a thing. And it's still going on now. I'm 50 and it's still going on in Nigeria. It's really so painful because then there were some adults who were in charge. Now it's my mates that are in charge and are still causing this suffering. And so on this day, we had spent days, so there were a lot of tiredness. And then, there are some people who will just come, they won't join the queue, and they will just want to cause trouble. They will just come and enter in the midst of chaos. Sometimes the people with the filling station will use cane to beat us up. And you have to go, and then you have to regroup and then reform the line. And so these people, they always thrived in this chaos, because in that way they get opportunity to now reject and probably be in front of the line. So there was this woman that came in, and she wanted to do something similar, just get her way into the line, and my mother wouldn't allow that, and they started quarreling, and they used all manner of language at each other. Oh, Lord have mercy. My mother is more of the quiet person. I'm more like my dad. I mean, yeah, hell, no, if you want somebody like me, if you want to bring fight, please bring it. I don't look for fight. That's one thing. I don't. I hate oppression. I don't oppress people. Even as a child, I don't. I never do. But if you bring fights, or I see you oppressing another person, I can take on that fight. I don't care. But my mom is more the quiet person who doesn't like trouble and all of that. And there she was, she and this woman literally insulted them, said there was no manner of insult that they didn't use. And I remember at the end of the day, after thank God, we were able to get the kerosene, and we were walking back home, and my mom cried. I will never forget that moment of seeing my mom break down and cried, because she cried over the fact that she had to be fighting her fellow woman and using all manner of insult that was used at her, all because she wanted to get kerosene. And on that day, my mom vowed never, ever to go buy kerosene. Until this day, She never did again. We went. We would go. And so that's what scarcity does to you. I remember all the kind of fights. That's why, when people on social media are insulting me, I'm like, I grew up in the ghetto. We ate insults because there were no food to eat. That's the same thing I see again today on social media. All of this fight, all of this anger, all of this, my tribe is better than your own. All of this, you did this, you go back to your village, you go and do this, you go and do that. Hey, it's scarcity. There are some people who are out there who have shortchanged our destiny, our country, our wealth, our everything. They've taken away our commonwealth, and so they and their family are having the best of time, while the rest of the people are suffering and are just fighting each other and going after each other. And so, you know, it's so sad, really. We all have differences and we'll forever have differences. One of the things for me, even as a child, I've always thought differently. I've never seen, look at another person and thought of that person, oh, you're different from me because you have different religion or different tribe or different whatever. I've never had the whatever to join anybody. So maybe if my parents are fighting with somebody, then automatically I have to. I've never had that feeling. I really don't care. Even as a child, when I see people who were from polygamous home, who were always fighting each other, children, and I always wonder, I say, look, you guys have the same father, you have the same blood, you have the same half blood. Your mothers are practically strangers who tomorrow, if there's no marriage, they can walk away and do their thing. So why are you fighting each other? So I've always had those kind of thoughts. And even when people are talking about tribe, I always say the only reason I can come out to anybody and say I'm from Agbede, I'm Isako, I'm from Edo State, is because my parents told me that. They told me I'm from Agbede. What if tomorrow my parents were to call me and tell me that I'm actually adopted, that they are not my real parents, that I'm adopted, and meanwhile I now find out that maybe one tribe that I'm hating, that's where I'm from? Then what? How do you? I always ask people, how do you know you are who you say you are? You don't know. You were told. You don't know. For example, my children, I know I gave birth to my children, but my children don't know I gave birth to them. I told them I gave birth to them, and tomorrow I was going to call my children and say, hey, you know what? I adopted you. I'm not your real mother. Somebody else is your real mother. That's what it's going to be. Except, of course, when they do DNA, they were like, oh, mommy, we got you. You are our mother. But that's it. So for me, I always think about these things. Why then are people just fighting each other over all of this? Oh, you're Yoruba, you're Igbo, you're Hausa, you're this, you're that. We're facing the same problem. It's okay to fight, but it's better to have you fighting in poverty. It's better to fight when we all have 24/7 electricity. It's better to have when we all have good roads. It's better to fight when we all have employment. Not this high level of unemployment. It's better to fight when we all have good quality education, be accessible to all and not just to a few, dependent on the economic status of their family. It's better to have when we have development, when we have good healthcare system, when we have good roads, when we are not battling with insecurity. Yes, we can do all of this fight. We do it in a big way. Not this one we are doing it in hunger. Not this one we are doing it as the poverty capital of the world. Not this one we are doing it with the country with the highest youth unemployment. Not this one we are doing it with high mortality, high maternal infant mortality, high maternal mortality. Not this one we are doing with a lot of our young people jackpotting out of the country. A lot of, not even just young people, even older people jackpotting out of the country because there's no hope for them in the country. They're going to do lesser jobs out there because there are no hopes for them. Then what is all this all about? That we're just sitting down and fighting each other. Meanwhile, the people who are causing the problem, they are there with their children. They are closing with your money. Some business people who made their money through the inequality in the system. They are not business people. It's through one way or the other, from round tripping, money laundering, and all of that. Today, they are the billionaires who are calling the shot, joining hands with the political rulers who have stolen our wealth dry, and they are using it to rule all of us. And we are here sitting down and fighting. Fighting over what? The Irishman really doesn't like the Englishman. Neither does the Scottishman like the Welsh. But hey, when they are beefing each other, they are doing it under 24/7 electricity. They are doing it over developed nation. They're doing it over good healthcare system. They're doing it over good roads. They're doing it over food security. They're doing it over security of lives and property, secured lives and property. Then they know why they are beefing. When we are here, we're facing hunger, we're facing death, we're facing inequality, we're facing unemployment, we're facing illiteracy, and yet we're beefing each other. We don't have any business beefing. We should be coming together and fight the people who have kept us in this impoverished situation. But hey, it's better to beef than to fight the people that we should be fighting. It makes a lot of people feel easy. Oh, I fought my fellow Nigerian who is from another tribe. Meanwhile, we are all poor people living in a poor country where if you have if you have a serious medical issue, you will not have healthcare to go to, and they will say, "Oh, it was his time." God, may his soul, may her soul rest in peace. We really should be ashamed of ourselves. We have problems, but we don't know what our problems are. We major in the minor.